We had another long night of activity throughout the metro area, with more than 100 protesters beginning in Jefferson Square. In all, around 26 people were arrested for various violations related to the protests. Charges include failure to disperse, unlawful assembly, curfew violations, and riot first degree. Prior to the curfew, protesters marched from Jefferson Square. Not long after it began, members of the group caused property damage, including at Jeff Ruby's restaurant on 4th Street. Because of the damage being done, an unlawful assembly was declared. Even though this was prior to curfew, it means people must disperse. Police began to stage and respond. The marchers continued through the downtown, causing damage at various locations, including TARC buses at Brook Street and breaking windows and tossing a flare into the main library at 3rd and York. Protesters gathered at First Unitarian Church at 809 South 4th Street, where church members allowed them to stay on the property as the curfew had expired. Several people were arrested in front of the church, charging them with unlawful assembly, failure to disperse, and first-degree rioting. Because of the damage being assessed at the library, police kept the area secured while the inspections and attempts at repairs were ongoing. Once the library was cleared, police worked with protesters to establish a plan for protesters to leave the church and head home. At that time, protesters were able to walk back to their vehicles and leave. I want to take a moment to address the rioting charge, as we have received several questions about it. Under Kentucky's riot statute, anyone who is part of a group causing damage or riotous behavior is subject to the charge of rioting. It does not require an individual to actually have participated in the specific destructive act. As you heard Mayor Fisher say, we encourage people to separate themselves from any damage or any unlawful activities during the protest. Throughout last night's march, there were several instances of destruction as I described. These occurred over several blocks and over an extended period of time. At that point, people could have disengaged from the march not to be associated with that criminal activity. That is why the participants in the group were arrested and charged with rioting. Once the protest activity concluded for the evening, officers addressed several incidents of looting at various locations throughout the city. We responded to 15 burglaries and 1 holdup of a business. The majority of the burglaries were described as having multiple suspects on scene at the time of the burglary. One break-in, for instance, at the GameStop at 4243 Outer Loop had an SUV driven through the front entrance. 2 other burglaries involved a firearm used to shoot out front glass doors. We are still gathering information on any arrests from these incidents. Once again, I'm asking the community to adhere to the curfew put in place to minimize this type of criminal activity. As a reminder, the curfew is in effect from 9 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. The destruction we saw last night simply cannot continue. I would also like to address another situation that we've been made aware of. We've received several inquiries regarding emails by 5th Division Major Bridget Hallahan. We are aware of these emails, and we have been looking into them. They were her personal opinions and do not represent the views of this department. She has been relieved of her command of the 5th Division, and Major Hallahan has accepted responsibility for her emails and is retiring from the department effective October 1st.